to all of you to this second masterclass of 2024. Let us know in the chat where you're joining us from. The masterclasses are hosted by Kingdom Business Solutions under the UNSTUCK. The theme for the masterclasses in 2024 is breaking barriers with a focus on victories in the marketplace. The masterclasses objective is to provide a platform where acts who are having extraordinary impact in their areas of influence can impart knowledge and skills, which brings about change and unlocks opportunities for the participants. My name is Shelmith Mugo, a member of the UNSTUCK team. I'll be your host for today. Before we proceed, I'd like to give you some housekeeping mentions. Number one, we request that you keep your mic muted throughout the session unless you're asked to unmute. We'll have a question and answer session at the end, and we encourage you to post your questions during the session on the chat. Then promotions and irrelevant content sharing are not allowed during this session. Kindly let us note that recording is going on. Then get a pen and paper and engage in the session, and do keep the comments coming in on the chat box as the session continues. So welcome, continue telling us on the chat where you're joining us from. At this juncture, I will invite Apostle Angie, who is the visionary behind Kingdom Business Solutions and convener of the UNSTUCK conference, as well as our spiritual covering, to pray and to give her welcome remarks. Welcome, Apostle Angie.
Hi, hi everyone. I'm really grateful. I really don't want to speak today. I don't. The only welcome remarks is thank you for joining us this morning. I think it's important. I love learning. I think being a lifelong learner is also something that is very, very, very important, and always learning from people. I really respect and honor our speaker today, Nkirote. I think she's a giant and she's a general in the marketplace and in the kingdom of God, and she's doing great things. So I'm just really excited to sit at her feet and to listen to what she has to tell us about breaking barriers and enjoying victory in the marketplace. So this is what is really encouraging. I'm just here to sit, to listen, to learn, to pick up things. Every time as somebody's speaking, I get to digest what they're saying. One sentence can spark something that is so huge and so important in my life, and so that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm not here today to speak, but I also like the theme. I like that we want to break barriers, because a lot of times we have barriers, that some we create, some they have been put on us. So I like the theme of breaking barriers and having victory in the marketplace, because we also spend so much time in the marketplace that's a place that we really must engage in victory. And I'm a great believer in purpose and leadership, and that leadership is about purpose, and that purpose is about leadership. And that also that the Lord has put on a group of people to be leaders over other leaders. And therefore, that means that we have a responsibility. So I think this is such a good learning activity this morning, so that when we break our own barriers, we are also able to break barriers for others, and we're able to carry others across, or we give them permission also to flow and to move beyond those barriers. So that's what I'd have to say this morning. So let us pray. Heavenly Father, you never gather your people in vain. You've gathered us here for a reason this morning. I want to pray here in my spirit that everyone will listen with intent. Intent to change, intent to turn in a different direction, and intent to restore to original order. Sometimes our life have gone out of order, and we need to bring it back to order. Also, I love the fact that breaking barriers and enjoying victory in the marketplace, which is in an element supernatural. So it's supernatural victory in the marketplace. It's such an amazing theme, Lord. So teach us how to break those barriers, get over the limitations that we have put on ourselves, limitations that others have put on us, even the perceptions of the world towards us as leaders, as women, as men, as leaders. There could be perceptions that people have put on us that are a limitation to us. And we're just asking that we listen. I just keep hearing this, that our eyes, our hearts, our ears are open to hear what it is that you're saying to us and will say to us through this incredible leader. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you, Apostle Angie.
Amen.
I'll now take this opportunity to invite our speaker. She has a rich profile and she wears many hats. Nkirote Njiru is our speaker. She's a governance professional. She's a certified secretary, a lawyer, and human capital practitioner with a passion for sound governance, policy making, standard setting, capacity building, and setting up institutional systems that deliver exceptional value. She has over 20 years of experience in governance, legal, and people leadership practice. She has worked in both the public and private sectors in East Africa in a wide range of activities involving setting up governance, legal and organization structures, policy, practice development, supervision, and capacity building. She's a fellow of the Institute of Certified Secretaries of Kenya, a member of the Law Society of Kenya and the Institute of Human Resource Management. She holds a higher national diploma in law and in human resource management. She's a certified governance auditor, a certified executive coach, a RICA fellow, and also certified in circular economy and sustainability practices. Her passions include capacity building and empowerment activities. She serves on 3 boards as an executive director, including serving the Upper Hill District Association as the secretary of the executive committee. She's passionate about women in leadership. She mentors actively and is a founder of the Women on Boards Network of Kenya. Welcome, Nkirote.
Thank you so much, and good morning to you all. It is, first of all, a privilege, an honor, and then now it just brings butterflies to my stomach. Tanji, thank you so much. Apostle Angie, thank you for just sharing your space with us. I am so excited this morning just to be in this space, because every time I step into your space, Apostle Angie, I learned so much. As in, honestly, it's like there is what is going on, in front of us, like someone is speaking or even you are speaking, but in the background, the Holy Spirit is saying so many other things. And so I am really excited to be here this morning. I am so grateful that each one of you has found time to be here. I actually do not take it for granted at all. And I'm looking forward to our conversation. And so I really encourage us all to participate, because I too am here to learn and to and really to engage in this conversation too, so that it also supports my journey going forward. So I'm really excited. As for the team that is, thank you. As for the team that is supporting, I'm really grateful. Let me say thank you first, before we even, we can get to the end and then there are things happening there. Let me say thank you, Shelmith and the entire UNSTUCK team. You have been amazing, and just walking this journey of preparation with you shows such excellence, and I'm really grateful. Thank you for that. And then also, just to, perhaps I could also just share my screen now and let's see how it goes. You can just tell me, Shelmith, when you can see the screen.
Yeah,
and it's in a good place. You can see it, right? So I really wanted to put this up first on the first slide, because that is the theme that we had for UNSTUCK in 2023, from which this masterclass flows. But more than anything, it is really to say all those things that Shelmith read. Sometimes I'm just like, what? I don't think there would be anything to be said of me if it wasn't for the Lord. I really must just start there and just say that any barrier that it has been broken or even perceived to have been broken, any gate that has been opened or even torn through, the Lord has gone up ahead of me as the leader and gone up ahead of us as the leader. So the earlier that we accept that, the easier it is as we go forward. So today, because you have heard that I have a real passion for governance, it is part of my mandate here on earth as a purpose. I just thought that we could just organize this conversation, and I think it is really an organization thing because I am one of those people who like things, somehow in order. It's just to organize the conversation around governance and a couple of dimensions. And I look forward to not only sharing some of my own stories as I've come through this marketplace journey, but also responding to some of the concerns, some of the challenges, some of the issues that a number of you already raised. As you were registering, you put in some objectives, and I've taken them on board, and let's see if we are able then to also unpack them together. And where we can share our experiences, please let's do so that we can all learn together. So we are going to discuss three things. There'll be time for a break. There'll be time for reflection. So just feel at ease. I hope everyone has maybe a cup of something to drink, your water or whatever it is. And we are looking forward to having this conversation over the next couple of hours. So the three governance dimensions, which we are going to be discussing, is self-governance, corporate governance, and global governance. And all these are really very much central to the theme that we had in UNSTUCK 2023. And the reason why I organize the conversation around this is because a lot or many of us have already been called into places of leadership, whether it is in any of the mountains of influence to which we have been called, to leadership in the marketplace, to leadership in perhaps even the global governance space. However, I must say that I really ascribe to the view that was once expressed by a gentleman called William Penn. He was a general. He was actually an army general in the US. The state of Pennsylvania is named after him or his family, let's put it that way. And he said something that for me has really resonated in the world of governance, that no man or woman, as the case may be, is fit to command another that cannot command themselves. And for me, that really spoke to the fact that many of us step into the marketplace, step into places where we have to lead others, command others, and yet we have not come down to the basics of really understanding self-governance and what that actually means when it comes to governing others. And my view is that that self-governance starts from a very simple place. It is a very simple place. Just who am I and what am I on earth to do? And Apostle Angie is I would say she is the number one purpose champion, that I know in the world. And I think the real issue is actually life is genuinely too short to be at war with yourself, because there is so much to do and so little time for which we've been put on here on earth. And sometimes we find ourselves in a position where we are self-doubting, self-checking, sometimes not very clear about whether what God has said about us and what we are to do will ever come to pass, because we doubt where we are right now. And so for me, I think just coming into this area of self-governance and who I am, I think the first question that actually remains at the top of the list of what have been asked about who I am is actually my name. And my name is Nkirote. And my Scottish nursery school teacher. She was called Miss Finletter. I even remember her until this day. I don't know who else was in my nursery school, but we had some Scottish teachers there. And trying to come to grasps with this phonetic and sometimes peculiar nature of Bantu languages, where maybe there are two consonants together. I don't know what. She asked me, do you not have an English name somewhere? And I was, fortunately, even at that age of about 3 years, or maybe I could have been just under 4 years, I could fathom that I had nowhere from where I could conjure an English name, and firmly replied in the negative. I do not have what is called an English name. And there's a story behind that in my family. However, I believe that a name has a destiny, and this belief stems from the fact that I have seen through demonstration over time that what you are called has an enormous impact on how you show up, and here I want us to take it further from just the name that was given to you that is on your birth certificate. I am privileged that in my community, a name is specially chosen for you with a characteristic in mind that is uniquely identified in the one who is choosing the name, and should inspire an aspiration in the person who is being named. Mine means self-sufficient. It is the same as Nkatha, for those who know. Nkirote and Nkatha are the same name. To all intents and purposes, a Proverbs 31 woman. And this has shaped my view that if my grandmother and her friends, who I guess chose the name, who was born in 1920s colonial Kenya, can believe that I can be sufficient, then indeed I am. I am enough, I'm adequate, I'm abundant, and I have remind myself that many times, and we'll talk about some of the points in this journey of leading that I have had to go back to remember that. So, what is your name? What do you call yourself? What have the people around you called you? But more importantly, what is God calling you? Because that starts coming down to the place, the real place of the element that encompass what I believe is self-governance, and that is how clear is it to you? I remember Posolanji, when I did, PLF, I think it was in season 10, you told us that, we take too much time, tossing this purpose word around. If somebody stood you up against the wall and pointed an AK-47 machine gun at you and said, say your purpose or now you're gone, imagine you will say it will just come out. It will just be in you. There is a way in which it is just squeezed out of you. And it is critical that in as far as it's possible that we are able early enough to identify our purpose, because now we are looking in corporate governance at a lot more of purpose-driven organizations, and how talent is being acquired is relating to purpose fit, value fit, and work-life fit. Those three areas really come out strong. Does my purpose align with the purpose of the organization? Do my values align to the values of the organization? And does the way I live my life and how I work, the total integration of my work and life, fit with the philosophy of the organization around how people work and how they live? And even for us who are entrepreneurs, it's really important that we're very clear not only about our individual purpose, but also our organizational purpose. And then there is obviously the mandate, and the mandate is your mission. How is it that in which area and how will you go about living out your purpose? So what in an organization would be called a mission is really the mandate that you'd be given, because flowing out of that mandate, from time to time, you will be given different assignments, whether it is a job, a business, a family, whatever it is, you will be given an assignment, and the assignment is more often than not linked directly to your mandate or to your mission. And so clarifying this, the purpose, the mission, then your values. In organizations, we talk about the core values of an organization, and it will be interesting to see on the chat, people, what kind of values you have in your organization. What are the values that are, so if you can put in the chat, what kind of values that people put up as core values in the organization. Can I see a few of them so that we can start seeing how this relates to our personal values? Excellence, I can see. What are the values? Integrity, I can see integrity comes up very, honesty, teamwork. I hear teamwork, sometimes I hear team spirit, excellence, agility, collaboration is coming up a lot more in organizational values, credibility, commitment. I can see you perpetual inclusivity, diversity, which we discussed with Angie Gashui at the last masterclass, relationships. Wow, I like this one, Patricia, love, unconditional positive regard and authenticity, which actually starts leading to the discussion around the fact that I think organizations are becoming more intentional about not putting in place what are called cookie cutter values. The cookie cutter values, you'll almost always find them in acronyms. I remember we had one acronym that was, what is it? It was, what was the acronym? Anyway, the values were accountability, creativity, yes, inclusivity, teamwork or team spirit, and I can't remember what was the other. But the issue was that over time, people have realized, yes, you can put them there, but what do they actually mean? How do people actually live them out? And actually, most people will live out organizational values depending on how closely it aligns to their personal values and their understanding of how those values are lived out, the way in which they are demonstrated in their daily lives and in their daily work. So what are your personal values? Are they, even if it's one of the ones that come up very strongly, integrity, etc., have you sat down to deeply reflect about what that actually means for you and how you live it out, how it is demonstrated in your daily life and your daily work? And then obviously another part of self-governance is how you steward your traits, your qualities, and your skills. And is there a difference? And I don't want to hear from Shelmith or anyone else who has been in any of the forums where I talk about this, but is there a difference between qualities, traits, and skills? You can also use the chat function. What are traits? Anybody who can put in something? What you think a trait is? I'm waiting. Somebody's typing furiously, I believe. Is there anyone who can, type in something about what they think a trait is? So a characteristic, a form of behavior, characteristics. So the trait is a characteristic, an inherent characteristic. The one where people say, Yanni, when God was dishing that out, where was I in the line? Those things that you're born with, they're inherent in you. And coincidentally, let's also be clear that not all traits are positive. Some could even be negative traits, but knowledge is power. You must understand what these traits are, these things that you came hard-coded with. And for some, it's challenging to think about it, to see what it is. So the advice I usually give is that if you can speak to someone who knew you when you were very young, under the age of 5 or even under the age of 7, I guess, just ask them some simple leading or powerful questions. For the coaches in the room, Pauline, Apostle Angie, Pauline, and others. A powerful question. What really stood out about me when I was that age, when I was young? What did you think I would become in the future? And why? The why is what leads you to them telling you, no, you were very organized. Like for me, my mother was like, and even my father was like, leaving the house when something is not matching was a bit challenging. I wanted to see where is it matching, and you can imagine all our clothes were from Jiris and all our shoes were from Bata, but the matching was very important, and so there was some story there that about order, organization, and my mom says she thought I would be a manager of something just because of that love for order, for matching things, for things that are set straight and organized well, even at that early age of 5 years. What is it that is a trait for you? And the traits can be, so many, we'll come back to them. But then there are the qualities. The qualities are also characteristics, but many of them are acquired, mostly in your time of nurture. And they're either acquired or amplified, because it could have been something that already is there, a part of how you do things, whether it is in your family, in a school, in a workplace where you have just joined as an intern, in the early or nurture stage. There are qualities that are acquired there. You hear people saying, the girls of Nkumu girls, and the boys of Friends School Kamusinga. I won't go to the schools that you people think I'm going to mention. But as in this is how they do things. They are responsible and accountable. They're hardworking. They're committed. There are things. Or people from a certain family, you will hear, they have this quality, and it comes out very strongly. And some of them, you actually see it, practically. Like, for example, you will see a lot of such qualities in business families, and I'm not talking about a family business. I'm talking about business families. There are families that are just in the business of business, and you will see some certain qualities that come from there, or in governance, or in that sort of thing. And the qualities are there, and even you need to be able to identify those qualities and see how you constantly bring them out. And then as well as the skills. Now, the skills are an interesting set of items, because they are what we interact with a lot in the marketplace. It is those that are learned, it is the ability to do something that is learned, and it needs to be developed and practiced to become everything that you need it to be, to achieve the highest potential of it. It needs to be developed and practiced, but you can learn a skill anytime through your life. And I'll say that some of the skills which you think are like, you're not even sure how you got them, how you learned them, sometimes are the ones that add together or come back to support you in your purpose journey somewhere down the line. So I'll give you an example, because I want you to start reflecting. And even as you are reflecting, I want you to reflect I want you to reflect on something. Is charisma a trait, a quality, or a skill? The people who you say that one is charismatic, is being a good listener a quality or a skill? Being a mentor, is it a quality or a skill? Be reflecting upon those as I give you a story of mine. So one of the skills that I have, anyway, I'll just tell the story as it is, or I tell you what happened. So when I finished fourth form, my father was of the school of thought that an idle mind is the. I want to see somebody finish that sentence because there is a generation of people who know what an idle mind is the. Let me see somebody put it in the chat. Is the devil's workshop. That is the thing. Alfred Nimekuona, you were raised like me, you know. The devil's an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So immediately I finished fourth form, I was put in a plethora of activities. One of them, actually, I was sent to Kianda school to learn how to type. You know, I don't know, we did typing, we did, I don't know, Spanish. I don't understand anyway, but I will come back to that. And we were typing on the QWERTY keyboards, you know, the ones where I would come home, my wrists are aching. I'm just like, what is this thing for? And in fact, computers had just started at that time. You know, there were some very old programs that we were using, but I was like, why am I learning this thing? And actually I tried to finagle my way out of that 6 months because I was just like, I don't understand it. I don't understand what this thing is for. I will figure this thing out as we go, you know, as in, I had so many excuses. Let me just put it that way. So I would go to Kianda in the morning until I think around 2. Then I was working at my uncle's, I don't know, tour and travel company. And on weekends, you know, I was working at my parents' pharmacy, as in I was just all over the place, really busy from evening to night. So I learned the typing skill. And I will tell you guys something. A lot of the work that God has enabled me to do, especially in the field of governance, in drafting codes of governance, has relied heavily on my ability to quickly turn around thoughts and actions, thoughts and ideas into documents. And I'll, you know, as in, so just compressing the time. I remember you know, one of the codes of governance which we drafted under the leadership of my friend and partner, Catherine Musakali, the Mwongozo Code. I was the secretary, as well as being part of the committee. I was the secretary because as people were talking, I could type at, you know, those speeds that they used to, I mean, we used to be tested on. And it was a skill, it was learned. I didn't understand what it was for, but in short order, God showed me what why he needed me to do that, and why my father insisted that I do it at that particular time. I was resistant. I didn't think it was. Another skill I can speak about is, you know, there are some skills which are just strange. So I pack quite well, you know, a suitcase, you know, as in I can pack things. Things may not always fit because I like carrying a lot of things. And, you know, Mr. Job Mitch, who is my husband, he's always looking at me like, really, are we carrying that too? Where are we going with it? And will it actually be used where we're going? But anyway, I pack quite well, but not only do I pack well, now my younger daughter, Nisi, has picked it up. And I'll tell you, I think she could do this thing as a side hustle. When you open her suitcase, you're just like, what? As in, things are packed in packing cubes. Everything is as in it's just amazing. It's a skill that she has just taken to the next level. How I got this skill. Not that I didn't know how to pack. I would always put my things, organized, order, all that. But I remember that once, the first time I was traveling to Juba for work, to South Sudan, my colleague on the other side, who was the MD of the company, said, okay, here's the drill. I'll send somebody to pick you guys up at the airport. Number one, when you arrive, please keep your camera away. I mean, your phone or any camera away. Do not take pictures. They're really, they do not like it. Secondly, carry $50 in cash for your visa or whatever it is. Thirdly, pack well. And I looked at him like, well, you know what? Anyway, also a man, so I was just like, you know what? It's fine. We pack well. What do you mean? So packed my things, very, very happy. Was traveling with my boss, who was the GCO of the company at that particular time. And those who know him, he just, mute your bias, just mute it. We were there and we arrived at the airport. What I did not realize was that at that time, there were no scanning machines in the Juba airport, and the military were in charge of searching your bags to ensure, I guess, you do not bring in contraband or whatever it is that they were looking for. Sometimes I wonder. And there, my boss was right in front of me. His bag was opened. They looked in. I guess there was nothing. And this military officer, young man, with his gun strapped, his cap on, whatever it is, opens my suitcase, tells me, open, I open. First of all, they were not even wearing gloves or anything. And he starts lifting things, out of the suitcase like this, and looking at them, examining them against the light, including unmentionables, like that. Things, as in, my boss was on the floor. He was so tickled by this story. I guess maybe the officer was maybe trying to embarrass me. I don't know. He could see I was a newbie in this game. From that day, I'll tell you something. There is nothing that isn't anything that could cause embarrassment held up against the light is packed in a small packing cube, a bag, opaque, not even translucent, opaque. You just put it away. It's a skill. It's useful because I have been traveling a lot in work, but it's a skill nonetheless. Why I wanted to bring this out is because the ability to govern self well is based on a couple of things. One, the ability to hold up the mirror and to see yourself for who you are, with your purpose, your mandate, your values, your qualities, your traits, your skills, and to be able to see the patterns over time. What you haven't used yet is not in vain. It is going to be utilized somewhere, somehow. Nothing will be left. If you're going to live a life that is full on to the wire, there will be nothing that will be left unused. And I will stop sharing shortly and allow the team to put up this Mentimeter, because I want us to just think back. I've given you one very hard, maybe a hard skill. I've given you one, I guess a soft skill, the packing, but just reflect for yourself. What skill do you have that you're currently not using, or you have forgotten, you actually have forgotten that you have? And we'll discuss that in a short while. So I'll just stop sharing and allow the team to put up the Mentimeter so that we can see what is hidden here amongst us that is going to support us in our progress journey. Have we put it in the chat?
Okay, we are putting it on the chat too.
Awesome, awesome.
Oh, shall we explain? Participants, you can click on join, and then now you can be able to fill in whatever you want. The skill on the Menti, there's a place down there that is written enter a word. Kindly put in your comment there.
So they're coming through, and my, oh my, you know.
I wanted if you could do me a favor.
This is amazing. Apostle Angie, you know, here we could start a whole enterprise right here, you know, with the things that people are hiding, they have forgotten about. See a couple more. Thank you all for sharing this. Because what we have realized over time, and it's not just about you know, using the skills to make money, even though it is possible. If your instruction is to bring it out to the fore, but it is also a gift to the world. How you use your skill is a gift to your family, to your community, to your workplace, and to the country, to the region, even to the continent and to the globe. And what I think in organizations people are looking more and more for is people who come in and bring their whole selves, you know, their whole selves, not just the technical skill for which they have been employed, but their other skills, their interests, their passions, their immersions, and that then adds together. So keep this in mind. I think, Shelmith, we can just take a bit of but I hope you will keep it for us, and you will share with us, I think at the end, so that people go away remembering some of those skills, and we shall certainly utilize them as we go forward in our own planning. And I just thought I'll put that up there because it's important to having now reflect on your purpose, your mandate, your values, your qualities, traits, and your skills, to be able to see what are the building blocks that make you that allow you to be usable in every context in which you step into. And so for me, we'll talk about my values or the mindset going forward, but that's one of the things that runs through the education and career that I have been blessed with is a curiosity, a curiosity which then informs different parts of or steps in the journey or building blocks in the journey that I have been on. So yes, a basis in law, but a real passion for governance. It actually sits at the core of my purpose, but a deep curiosity about people. And that's why this human capital role that I'm doing right now is really about my curiosity about how people's potential can be unleashed in order to impact the challenges that we're facing, as nations and as a globe at the current time. Experiences have been varied, private and public sector, professional associations, social impact. But the issue is where your assignment lies is only a function of the purpose that you carry. So you need to, I think one of the things that we need to reflect on continually is the fact that you are, when you allow yourself to be usable based on your purpose, it can be in any context and you will still thrive. So it's not really about whether it is as an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, whether it is in the public or the private sector, whether it is in professional associations or social impact, or even in your church organization or any. It is really just about being aligned to your purpose. So there's an orange bubble there, and I have really struggled with this issue of interests, what people call I have an interest in. So I guess we all have a lot of interests, but the issue is just being at that place of really, listening to what it is, because time is limited. And, we'll talk about work and life integration, but what do you actually immerse yourself in and spend time and pour your heart, your interest, your energy into. And so I have a few immersions. My family, I am one of those people who is currently being called the sandwich generation. I don't know how many of us are in the sandwich generation, where you have a multifaceted intergenerational family, and you want to be really present for all of them, whether it is parents, and here by parents I don't only mean biological parents, but even spiritual parents, even community parents, even mentors. Some of them are your fathers in the marketplace. You want to be there, as well as my husband, as well as our two daughters, and all of them require different different levels of immersion. My brothers, sisters are all across and it's important to really just think about. I'm just giving you one of those immersions. Another is women in leadership, and the Women on Boards network is because of this immersion, this thinking, that it is something that an assignment that God would wish me to carry forward. But the question that I have for you is one, where is the evidence of, and I know this is an interesting question, but where is the evidence of what God has put in your hand? Where is it? If one of the things that God has put into your hand is a specific area of purpose, or a specific area of passion, or a specific area of immersion, where is the evidence that you can go back and stand accountable before the Master and say, this you gave into my hands, and here is the evidence that I followed your instruction, that I immersed myself, and that it has had an impact on who you say it will have an impact on. And there is a mindset that lends itself to being this 100, what I call the 100-fold kind of gal, or the 100-fold kind of guy in the marketplace, or even in any area of calling. The Matthew 13:23, and I think I mentioned it during the first, the panel discussion. Good soil, we are. I mean, the fact that we are here on a Saturday morning, it means it is good soil. We are willing to listen, to learn, to understand, to apprehend not only the word, but are curious to learn from others as well. And producing crop, I am 100% certain that we are producing crop. And the question then is, even in good soil, there are various levels of productivity. And that brings me to the very interesting discussion that has been happening. And I promise you, Apostle Angie, I'm not going to take it left field. This fertilizer story, I'm not taking it into the political, the fertilizer discussion. For those who are not in Kenya at the moment, we have been discussing fertilizer for like weeks on end now, which normally does happen in the political sphere. But it actually just, prompted this issue of seed sown on good soil. And actually, you can have fertilizer that is put in the good soil, and how, they said some of it actually destroyed. Imagine the fertilizer destroyed the nutrients in the soil, and therefore for years to come, what was otherwise good soil will bear nothing in seasons to come. What? I mean, I was blown away. It's not just about the crop of today is lost. It's about the fact that it has actually destroyed what is there. And there is a place, in fact, that thing just from a deep place, it really disturbed me. Is there fertilizer that we are allowing. So aside from the mindset, which I'll talk about in order to bring in that 100-fold yield, is there fertilizer that we are allowing into our good soil, our mind, our body, our soul, that not only takes away what should be yielded, the productivity of this season, but actually destroys the nutrients for seasons to come. And it, yeah, even I am in that space as well of just really thinking about it, and the mindset that I have, that has supported me in the journey this far. I'm still rethinking it. I'm still in that place of really just hearing more around the issues of abundance, the abundant mindset, there is a way in which we can approach what is happening around us and just think, well, as in, I'm in a dark place, things are not working out, I just lost my job, my business is not thriving, etc., etc. But there is a mindset to being able to use what is in your hands through, from a place of abundance, of starting with gratitude, of just seeing, okay, there is nothing that I have done until now, or nothing that has happened in my life until now that I deserve. Genuinely. I have seen God's goodness until now. All my life, He has been faithful. Even in the dark seasons, He has been faithful. The abundant mindset is also about recognizing, even in this moment, what is it that I have in my hand, and is it usable? I have a good friend who always tells me, don't worry, Nkirote, even though whatever it looks like, you're the man for the job. Okay, gender, well, purpose, I guess, is gender agnostic, but, yeah, you're the person for the job, even if it's a small assignment or big assignment, and that's encouraging. And then also just looking at the win-win situation. Yes, something is not working right now, but actually there is something that is working, and what is that thing? Being able to identify it and being able to train your mind. And it is one of the most powerful organs that we have, the mind. We need to train it well. And that's where the bit about being a lifelong learner really has borne me out well. In fact, one of my really good friends, Kagendo, is always telling me, no, don't go back to class. Then I find her back in class learning something. And I'm like, madam, what is that? We are just always spurring each other on to learning more. The aspect of collaboration, the question of why are you trying to do things on your own? I remember the story in Exodus 18:14, or Exodus 18. Jethro goes to see Moses, who is in the wilderness. By the way, he has left the wife, he has left the children, the sons. He goes into the wilderness because he's busy. He's got a lot of things to do. He has to govern, he has to give word, I don't know what. So he goes, he separates himself. And then Jethro goes to see him and says, oh, this is beautiful. You have done a really great job, but why are you doing it on your own? What's the problem? Why are you doing these things on your own? And that's what collaboration is all about. Do we not understand, that actually there are some blessings that belong to us, that are attached to networks that God has predestined for our lives? There are blessings that only belong to us because attached to some network, to somebody else that God has predestined from our lives. So the more we try to do things on our own, the more the time towards your receiving of that blessing. The more you open your hands and you agree to collaborate, there we go. You find that it has come to bear. I'll give you a good example. The first code of practice or governance that I was involved in drafting was the code of practice for advertising and direct marketing. Don't even ask. I don't even, by the way, to this day, in fact, when I was preparing for this, I tried to remember, how did I get into this thing? I was young. I think I was maybe in my late 20s. I can't remember. I know somebody who called me and said, "Are you willing to do this?" And I'm like, what is that? Actually, who are those people again? And it was actually at that particular time, there were two really, I honor these women. Patricia Ithao was, I can't remember whether she was the chair or the secretary of the Marketing Society of Kenya at that time. And then there was Sheena Round Turner, who I met again recently, just a couple of years ago. I hadn't seen her for years. I think, again, she was either the vice chair or the secretary of the Association of Practitioners in Advertising in Kenya. And these two women, actually back in, it could be the year 2002 or something like that, sat down, looked at what the guidelines or the ethics around advertising, this is 20 years ago. And they were like, we will do what we can when we can. And they actually decided that they would get some people to recraft the Code of Advertising Practice and Direct Marketing for Kenya, which I think had been drafted in very very high level terms back in 1992. It wasn't really being, complied with or even adhered to. And they actually decided to collaborate, MSK and APA, and they brought me on board. I was able to bring on another young lawyer. Now you just imagine the 20-something-year-old lawyer brings in a younger 20-something lawyer, and we sat down, and over weeks we crafted this thing, trying to use as best global practice as there could be. And we had our senior John Ohaga then validate it, and from a legal and compliance perspective. And there's a way God actually protects you from yourself, so that you just get over yourself. So I remember the day that this thing was being launched. It was at the Serena Hotel, and the Minister of Trade and Industry, I think at that time, was invited to launch this Code of Advertising and Direct Marketing practice document. And all I could think about was, at this age, we need to look hip. So what will people think when they see me standing here? People now, I'm thinking of my age mates, my peers. What will they think, when they see me standing with these people, I don't know, discussing some things which are just, at that time, we wanted to look like we were with it, we were just enjoying life and all that. Half the time when I was in that forum, I was trying to give the camera my side profile, so my face is not seen. I remember I only invited, I think, maybe one friend or two, if maximum, maybe Pauline, and I think my then boyfriend, Job, because I was like, well, I may not be the kind of girl to be in the club all the time, but at least I can get them a meal sometime at Serena, just show your faith and good hand at this thing. By the way, it was a great collaboration that those two ladies put together, because I don't know, I have not followed in a very, deeply to see. I've seen some judgments coming out of the adherence to that code of practice or whatever it is. But do you know some of the things that actually changed in this country from that code of practice being put in place? One of the things that we were keen to put in, I wasn't even a mother then, was that advertising of certain items cannot be done near schools. or even during certain times on mainstream media. So, for example, the advertising of tobacco products, the advertising of alcoholic beverages. You can't put like the posters and the billboards near primary and secondary schools, because we are not living in a society where children who are passing these billboards, who are interacting with the products on a day-to-day basis, even on mainstream media, have an adult, a responsible adult or their parent near them to actually challenge their thinking and to discuss the impact and the effects of this. That is the first time when that code was brought on board, is when you started seeing the cigarette packets. Remember those days, there were cigarette packets where now the warning actually had to be printed in large print on the cigarette packet so that people actually know what the health risk is. Things that have actually, in my view, changed the trajectory for our generations, just brought up by a collaboration by these two women. And this is it. It's that mindset of, I'm not going to do this on my own, and I will do what I can where I can, And then there is the aspect of participation. How many times do we sit somewhere, we listen, we think that, yeah, that's something I could do, but then you're just like, we'll come back to imposter syndrome. The thing but I look silly, I'm not sure my skill is up to scratch. I'm not sure I can do this. And therefore, we keep our hand down when it should go up, and we should be there participating. And then also building a culture of resilience around ourselves, because, things will happen. I mean, for real, things will actually happen to us, but we need to remember to keep that mental readiness, that even though these things happen, even though situations of crisis arise, I am still walking very much in the purpose that God has for me. And so we'll just take another couple of minutes, and then we'll go into some reflection time. And I'm sure Shalmith is just looking at the time and wondering, what will we get through this? But here we are. The question is, are you a warrior, one who worries, or a warrior? I had a couple of questions, people asking, what are the barriers, what are the challenges, and how do I navigate these challenges that you'll find in the marketplace? And yes, challenges will be there. And we have encountered them. Some of them have left, some marketplace leaders really wounded, and wounded people actually wound others. And that is a fact of life. Unconscious biases will always be there, both men and women. Even I have unconscious biases, you do as well. And unconscious biases are really social stereotypes about certain groups of people that we as individuals form outside our own conscious awareness. We all hold some unconscious beliefs, and these beliefs actually stem from our tendency to organize the social strata or the world by categorizing people into various social groups. And those beliefs may come from, things that we have observed in our past, things that we observed when we were growing up, our childhood. They could be even just from interactions with certain situations and certain people. And these biases grow in our mind. And the danger is when they're unconscious rather than when they are conscious. Because when they're unconscious, we react in a certain way towards people. And unconscious biases could be even in respect of the way people look, the skills that they have, what they have chosen to do with their lives, and those demonstrating the way we interact with them, the way we speak to them, and even the way in which we bring them into our network of collaborators. And that is something that we really need to think about. I'll tell you a little bit about one person who, when I read her story, I realized that the, unconscious biases, wow, can really throw us off onto the wrong path. So there is a lady called Christine Lagarde. I don't know how many of you know her and know who she is. And if anyone knows who she is, you can put it in the chat. You can tell me what you know about her. Christine Lagarde, anybody? Maybe let me look in the chat and see. MD of the, yes, she is actually the president of the European Central Bank. She was actually the former chair of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. So in July 2011, yes, you remember her more for IMF, Viv. I certainly, when she was appointed to be chair of the IMF in 2011, if you remember, in 2011, that was the time of the global financial crisis, and I will tell you something, the biases that people had against her were like over the top, over the top. Number one, let's even just start from the gender stereotype. A woman, she was the first chair female chair of the IMF. Number two, French, not American. All the rest had been American or Swiss or, something. French. Three, not an economist, and a lawyer. Okay, let's start. Then not only just a lawyer, but a politician as well. She had actually been a politician. She had been, I think, the Minister of Finance of France by that time. And then fourthly, very interesting fact about her, she had been an Olympiad. And for those, I don't want anyone who has interacted with my discussion of Christine Lagarde before. What sport do you think she was an Olympiad? As in, she went to the Olympics as part of a team for France. Which sport do you think? If you can Google her and just look at her picture, her structure, how she looks like. What sport do you think she went to the Olympics for? Just a guess. Anybody can put in the chat what they think. And this is just a perception thing. Don't Google what it was. Pole vaulting, yeah, good guess. I would have guessed even triple jump or something. She's tall, she's lean, high jump, yes, such things. Gymnastics, it was synchronized swimming. Guys, you know what synchronized swimming? It is dominated these days by China. Have you seen that thing where people, a team, they dive at the same time, they, as in art in water. That was what she went to the Olympics for. So you can imagine the biases. How will this person, how will they get us through this global financial crisis? There was even, there were countries that were set to collapse because of this crisis. And Christine Lagarde came in, first and foremost, she came in from a point of, by the way, guys, I'm not an economist, I'm a lawyer. And therefore, these complex methodologies to get out of this problem, I do not want them. Could somebody just explain to me in a language mwananchi, a person like me can understand? How are we going to get out of this? It actually forced people to start simplifying and clarifying what was otherwise a very complex global problem. And some of the solutions that IMF crafted at that time are really what saved the economic structure of the world. The second thing is because she was French, she was really in the right place to actually speak to Europeans in a language they could understand. And it was really, it was a huge thing to have someone who really understands how to speak to the European public at that particular time, where the heart of the crisis was. The fact that she was a politician meant that there was no door that she wouldn't knock. There was no person, whether it was a head of state or anyone else who she was not ready to speak to. She did not shy back. If she needed to open a door, she did it. And finally, it is said that the fact that she was an Olympiad demonstrated itself in her shocking discipline and ability to deliver, work long hours, travel, arrive with a sharp mind and ability to go on, even though she had been on the plane for hours. So a real discipline about how she governed her body and her mind came from the fact that she had actually been an Olympiad. And this is it. If you apply your biases, you may end up with real challenges. Same thing goes with gender stereotyping. And the thing about this is that we must really encourage real conversations around this diversity and perceptions in spaces where we are. Don't let things slide. It's very difficult to keep your brand intact in the face of, in the face of the word on the corridor. And for the gentleman in this team here, you need to be on our side. You need to be our champions, especially as women, because there are views, the gender stereotype views in the marketplace are that women who are successful either are viewed as tough or pert, Iron Lady, you hear such comments, or alternatively compromised in one way or another. And one of my colleagues somewhere, I won't say where, one of the places I work, once said, just made a passing comment about a young actuary in our business and said, she's too pretty to be that clever. That was the comment. And I stopped him and said, excuse me, what do you mean by that? And I just asked it in a way, I wanted him to explain what he meant by it. And I will tell you, the man stopped in his tracks, looked at me. He's like, what do you mean? I said, no, actually, it's me who is asking you. So don't throw the question back at me. What do you mean by that? And I'll tell you, he just froze because actually he didn't have a meaning. It's just something that spewed out of his mouth and he just didn't have a meaning behind it. And we really had an interesting discussion there in the corridor around what part of her IQ or the way she looks is within her control. These things God gave you. You came like that, the way you look. And even your IQ, it comes in hard-baked. If it is A, it is A. If it is E for effort, it is E for effort. EQ is what you can play with, but IQ, this is it, So it's that thing of just having those continuing conversations, missing stepping stones. They're there, transitioning of certain careers, people, genders from one level to another. You try to find where the foothold is. There's nothing, nobody to support you, no one to hold your hand. And it is critical that we are able to notice where those missing stepping stones are and actually find people to support us in our journey. Internal ceilings and sticky floors, this is the place where you find things like our own mindset, what is called the imposter syndrome lies in this. This thing of are my skills, is my intellect, are my accomplishments, enough. sufficient for this that I am going into. And this is demonstrated by a very high level of perfectionism, procrastination, people pleasing that happens. And a lot of people face significant self-doubt, especially as they grow in the marketplace. And how I have encountered this myself in many spheres, and how I go about it is just first and foremost holding myself accountable to remember what my purpose, what my skills, my qualities, my traits are, and how they have been used until this time. Secondly, keeping people around me who I can go to and they can give me honest feedback. I've got my friend Pauline, who, especially when I'm going for either an interview or something, I will bounce things off her and she'll remind me who I am and remind me what are my blind spots and what I need to deal with. And then, of course, laxity in self-governance. And so I wanted us to just take bit of time, a moment, just to listen to a video of Christine Lagarde's. Then we shall go into a few minutes of a health break and a chance to reflect, and then come back and just discuss what we're getting out of this part around self-governance. So I'll stop sharing here and let's listen to Christine Lagarde a little bit.
Has risen up the ranks and built an extraordinary career in largely male-dominated fields. How has gender influenced your career, both in ways that have created unique challenges, but also opportunities for you?
You spend your life with your childhood. And I have lived with extraordinary women, whether it was my grandmother, my mother. My father passed away when I was 16, and my mother had to just face the hardship of a large family and single income and a desire to make sure that we were properly brought up with a lot of culture, a lot of civilization around us, and a lot of love. But I was witness to a woman who single-handedly brought up the entire family and managed to do everything. She was a horse rider, she was a teacher, she was a mother, she was a car racer. She was an extraordinary role model for me, and that, I think, has been the first sort of ground floor for me from which to build and from which to have enough confidence to do the things that I thought were right.
You talked about success in an interview in an interesting way. You said, "Success is never complete. It's an endless combat. Each morning, one must put one's capacities to the test once again." How do you get the motivation and the energy to go to combat every single day?
It comes naturally because it's life, and it's an extraordinary venture and an extraordinary challenge every day. That's one of the things that I take from my father. He used to tell us, don't take anything for granted. And I think he was right. Every day you have to just prove yourself and convince and move forward and challenge yourself all the time and doubt all the time too.
What piece of advice would you give to young women today?
Grit your teeth and smile. And in the face of adversity, go. They don't deserve you.
There is a place that we get to where we really need to evaluate. And I'll just share my screen again. We really need to evaluate, based on the patterns, the trajectory of our lives, where we are at now, what it is that we are going to take forward into our next. There is what is before you, And there's a mindset or a resolve that you require in order to take it to the next level. And it's that resolve does not come from, how can I put it, somebody else pushing you. It is that ability to sit down and listen to the clear instruction from God about what is the immediate thing before you, and what challenge does it present for you, and how is it that you're going to take it to the next level. And resilience is about saying, yes, there are short-term things that need to be dealt with, but there's still there's still a long game plan. And it's important that we are able to see what it is that it will take for us to stay the long haul in order to deliver on the assignments that we have been given. It's important that we create a detailed plan around the things that actually matter. And that is one of the things that that for me was, a huge lesson as I went along. I'm one of those people who would, because something looks interesting, I sort of stumble into it. And when I'm in the middle of it is when I'm asking, okay, somebody, Lord, why am I here again? What am I supposed to be doing? But it is incumbent that as we steward or govern ourselves well, that we always create a detailed plan around how it is that the next will be achieved. And then there's always the aspect of reimagination, challenging yourself daily. What is the next normal? Not only for yourself, but even for your area of calling, what is for the world. We'll come to the whole ESG and climate change story, but the reimagination requires, a real understanding of what it is that your assignment is, and what it's looking like in the future to enable you to reinvent and reimagine what transformation would look like, either for you or for the community you're serving, for the workplace that you're in, your business, whatever it is. And then there's the aspect of reforming, be clear about how you will change this. What is it that is required from you to surmount the challenge, to break through that barrier? And then also just remember that the power of a vision is that you see yourself in it. It's not that thing of, this thing, I know it really disturbs me. I can put together a plan, but it will have to be executed by someone else. No, it's really that vision, that place you see of reimagination, really you're there in it. You're in it, doing it, being it, and really serving those who are waiting, as Solange says, on the other side of your obedience to do what it is that you're being called to do. So I wanted us to take, probably we'll just take about 7 minutes now. There's a word, I have kept thinking about this issue of transformation and what it takes to transform something. But this word came to me as I was preparing for this. Transfiguration. It's a transformation that makes something more beautiful, even more elevated than it already is. The recognition that we are not starting from a low base. None of us is starting here from a low base. We are starting from already something that is in our hands. But how will it be transformed into something more beautiful, more elevated than it already is, whatever that is in your hand? And I just thought that we could just take those 7 minutes to think about one facet of your life or one assignment which is in your hands right now. And God is speaking to you about the next for it. How are you being called to reimagine the next in a way that is not driven by those fears, those limitations, those sticky flaws, that imposter syndrome, those unconscious biases that are holding us back, but to reimagine it from a place of purpose and freedom. And maybe you can just take these minutes to reflect, to think about the resolve that you will require to actually take that step into the next from a place of purpose and freedom, to reimagine what that next looks like for yourself, for your family, for the community in which you're serving, the marketplace that you're serving, or even for the globe. And maybe just one item of reformation. What will have to change for you to get there? So 7 minutes, I think we can have now. And Shalmith, you can call us back when you're ready. Please take a moment to stretch as well. Stand up, stretch as well. If you're not already standing, it's important to keep the blood flowing.
We can now come back.
Thank you, Shalmith. I'm grateful. And I hope most of us are back now. After a good stretch, I'll tell you a little more about that. But my question is there anyone who's willing to share on the chat or even just put up their hand and share anything that, any reflection that they've had? You don't have to share the personal parts of it, but any reflection that they've had or are being led to share. We're happy to hear a couple of people, or even if you can, put it in the chat on this point of reflection. Please go ahead. I got worried. I thought people have gone to eat mandathi and ndomas.
The temptation to go for the ndomas is there for sure. But yeah, I thank you. This is such an amazing session to really reflect and unpack some of these points. So I was sitting here and I was just thinking about what you said in terms of the vision. I must see myself in the vision. Because sometimes we think we're doing things just for others, but we forget our position where we're supposed to be. So in this time of reflection, I'm thinking of how I can transform my vision and see myself as an active participant and not a passive, sojourner on this purpose journey. Yeah. So just reflecting and resolving internally to committing to putting my best foot forward, committing to building my skills. You know, you've talked about 3 aspects that we need to not let it limit us: perfectionism, self-doubt, you know. So I'm just thinking, where have I allowed that to creep in? So then just to transform my mindset and my thinking and just, you know, just take that resolve and commit to walking the full path and getting to the other side where the people are that I'm developing this vision for. Yeah, thank you.
Sheila, and thank you for sharing that reflection. Jay, you have shared about, sorry about that. Let me just go back. Jay, you shared on the chat about stewarding your physical health, wellness better. This body, the temple through which your purpose will be conceived, incubated, and delivered. I always say it's one of the things that, for me, really came, and I will share a little bit about that just now. But yes, it is one of the areas where I really, I had to learn the hard way about how I steward my body better and my physical health better. Anyone else who's willing to just unmute and share? Otherwise, we move on. Okay.
Hello, hi.
Apostle Angie, what? Okay. Yeah. You've scared me. Go ahead, Apostle Angie.
Oh gosh, there's a lady called Kathy who wanted to go first. Was this somebody called Kathy who was speaking?
Kathy?
For me, it's a bit, I was wondering, because I'm rereading your statement, but for me, I wrote and I'm like, hey, me and I really love just to speak authenticity, but I feel like I'm both a success and a failure at the same time. That is so crazy because there are things that I see that are just so, success is there, transformation is there, there's no discussion. But then there's another whole different list of things which I feel like I'm such a failure at this, although I think I've grown and matured so that, okay, I don't let the failure knock me down, but it can get to me. It can really get to me. Or the perception of the places where I feel like I have failed. I have failed people, failed things to do, but I just feel like like you gave me a kick to do more, because you see now I'm 58. So there's somebody who's telling me not to say it's the last quarter of my life, but even if we live to be 100, let's just say, 65 would be 3/4. So yeah, okay. So maybe there's a bit of life there, but I feel like I'm in my legacy years. So I feel like for me, I need to, the resolve that today's masterclass has given me is to do my next, not driven by fear. That has come out very well because of what you've written here. It's not driven by fear or limitation. It's not driven by whether I feel I'm a success or a failure. And that maybe in life, there'll always be those who see you as a success and those who see you as a failure. But I think it's more important. The other thing for me is also the second thing that you said about that Sheila has just said, and I know these days I forget things in mid-sentence, but she's just spoken about see yourself in the vision. See yourself in the vision is also something that I'm taking forward. So thank you so much, Nkirote.
Thank you. Thank you, Apostle Angie. Thank you for sharing. Femi, then we can move.
I think mine is also more of a question rather than a comment. So, you know, the phrase, okay, I guess it's not you who put it forward, but where she said that in the midst of adversity, go, they don't deserve you. So how do we, or how would you kind of have the conversation with yourself between the other stuff that we talked about having resolve, about pushing through, because that would be against adversity. You'd have resolve, you would be pushing through, versus when it's time to go.
So we'll towards the end, we will come to looking at those dilemmas, yeah. But the one thing that that I was actually going to mention is this. Fanny, there in many of the areas, you do need to reflect about where the boundary lines are for you. And I think that's what Christine Lagarde was talking about. As you sit down with your purpose, as you sit down with the current assignment that you have, you need to have a reflection around where the boundary lines are, and to the extent that those boundary lines are crossed by certain aspects which will only build fear in you to go to the next, then it is time to consider leaving. And that is one thing which we'll discuss at the end around what that actually looks like. It's not about picking up your folder and your bag and flouncing out. I'm just giving an example. But there is a way in which you separate with a place or a situation in a way that allows you to still remain with the resolve and ability to reimagine and move on to the next, without cutting what you can untie. I had a boss who told me once, Nkirote, never cut what you can untie. So you will do it, you will go, but you will not cut what it is that you can untie and leave there because you do not know how it's going to reconnect or how you'll use that rope again, that network again, that thing in the future. So there is an aspect of understanding your boundary lines and where they have fallen, and what then is the next for you. It gives you a very clear vision and helps you to take a decision as to when boundaries have been crossed and you need to be able to move on to the next, to go, as Christine Lagarde said. I will, though I will say one thing, I was really reflecting around this. Can I say specifically for the women in this place, in the marketplace in Kenya, the boundary lines have fallen for you in pleasant places, Every sphere of influence, save for the head of state in East Africa. But if you go to Africa and the globe, even that sphere has been breached. There have been women leaders who have gone ahead of you. So that means don't set the bar low. Allow yourself to understand that the boundaries for you are in pleasant places. And anyone who is trying to take you back, anyone or anything, even a mindset that is trying to take you back to places that have already been conquered so that you can go on and do better and thrive better, don't accept it. And I know it's a difficult thing to conceptualize, because at the end of the day, it is a very personal instruction that allows you to take that step. But remember, these boundary lines for you are rich inheritance. So don't squander it. Don't squander it by accepting to be treated in a way that only takes you back to a place of fear and limitation rather than to a place of purpose and freedom. And so, and if you find yourself in that space, find somebody, a mentor who has already done it, been there, to remind you to hold up that mirror to you and tell you, my friend, some of the things that you're putting up with now will only take you back. They'll not take you forward. Find a coach, Apostle or any other. Find a coach. Find a connector who is connecting you to your next. Find a sponsor. You know, we've killed that word sponsor, sponyo, but sponsors are also important. There are people who will use their substantial, whether it's social or professional or even political capital, which they have garnered over a long time in their place in the marketplace, and they're willing to use it to help you go ahead in your chosen path. Find somebody so that at the end of the day, you are not allowing yourself to be drawn back into the place of fear and limitation. And I think that's what Christine Lagarde is talking about. Thank you guys for sharing. I just wanted to share maybe just one thing that for me, it doesn't have to be a big thing. One thing I had to transform around is physical wellness. So one fine day, I won't go into the long story, but one fine day, I actually found myself in hospital on, Apostle Angie, please go ahead.
I'm so sorry to just interrupt you, but I'll just interrupt you for 1 minute. Just to also, I think, to answer Fanny, I think I feel also that question needs a deep dive, but I feel also it's the time that we waste. We waste a lot of time staying, where she's saying if there's adversity, and I guess because also we have this African context and the way that we deal with things and the lens with which we look through things as Africans, it's also just not wasting too much time on that spot. Like, it's the way we say, people have shown you who they are, believe them and move on. Like, I feel we can get stuck there, and this is the Unstuck Masterclass. You can get stuck in just going over the same adversity because you're probably trying to rationalize it, you're trying to give it a sense of purpose that it doesn't have. It's just like, yeah, move on. There's somebody else who needs you somewhere else. You need to get on. Like the first slide that Nkirote had, this life is too short. It really is. And you can waste your time trying to unpack and deal with adversity from every different side. And I love her advice. Just go. Just move on.
Yeah, just move on. Thank you, Apostle. In fact, actually, when you were speaking, what came to me is that march around the mountain again, you know, and you haven't learned from the last turn round it.
And you're just
that's not us. That's not us, you know. So yes, that's it. I think it really is that reflection. So for me, actually, one fine day I found myself in hospital, just like that. Actually, the person who pushed me, I think she's in the room, Pauline, my friend, I told her, I feel like this, Nini, how long have you felt like that? You know, as in just direct coach questions. How long have you felt like that? So and so. She's like, go to the hospital, you know, stop it. And the following morning, I rocked up to the hospital, and suffice it to say, for 7 days, I was on total bed rest. You know, I had suffered, you know, a lot, DVT. Didn't know where it came from, how it happened, and so on. But the lesson I took from there, you know, God just had to put me somewhere where he will just speak to me and tell me what it is that he was observing about the way I was stewarding my body and my life. And one of the things that I learned when I was in that hospital bed is my refusal to accept help, whether it is at work, sitting long hours, never standing up until the work is done. No one can help me. Remember, perfectionist manenos, you know, at home, you know, just trying to do everything. My refusal to help, to receive help was an indication of pride, of selfishness, and to a large extent, self-sabotage or sabotage of my purpose and the next assignments. And so, wow, you know, I had to leave there. I left that hospital And, I hope one day you get a chance to meet, whether it is one of my close friends or my associates or my colleagues or even my immediate family, my husband and my children. A lot changed in the way in which I operated. And that has helped unlock for me so many other opportunities, helped unlock for the Women on Boards Network so many other opportunities, because I was able to open my hands to accept help so that I can deal with the assignments of the season and of the moment, and which are taking things forward. So I just thought I'll just mention that. Even as we go to corporate governance, I won't spend too much time on corporate governance. We've spent quite a bit of time on self-governance, but my belief is the basic principle of corporate governance is that a sound corporate governance system should aim at achieving a consensus amongst its principal participants. And for whether it is your business or your marketplace, you need to be able to carry out that stakeholder mapping to see who are the principal participants in your corporate governance system. Is it the shareholders? Is it the key stakeholders? Is it the board of directors, the employees, your suppliers, the communities you serve, the clients you have, the customers? And one of the things that compromises our corporate governance system is when we're not clear who the principal participants are and what actions we need to take to ensure that there is a consensus around the purpose, the strategy, the values, and the direction of that business. So very critical to be able to think about it and then think about what are the areas of corporate stewardship that then you will focus on within that business and at any level in the organization. Here, we're not just talking about the C-suite leaders or even just the board or shareholder representatives or key stakeholder representatives in that organization. It is really about an agreement from wherever you are. And you, wherever you are, you can actually challenge the thinking within that business around who are our principal participants, what consensus do we want to achieve, how will we steward this company using a real understanding of the areas that we really want to impact with our business. What is our core? And so I thought we could just do a quick poll here. We have about maybe 10 more minutes, but we'll be able, a quick poll. What I want us to think about is which area of corporate stewardship, just now where you sit, do you think will have the greatest impact on global governance over the next 7 years? I can see the answers are coming through. I'm looking forward to seeing at least half of us so that we can start seeing what is on our mind, what is it that in our businesses, in our areas of our mountains of influence, what is top of mind for us? I can see the people who are in AI, talking about technology, oversight, innovation, quite a number. Very interesting. Thank you so much. I think I'll just give it 30 seconds more, and then we can just have a little bit of discussion around this, So, so I think coming out tops right there, was there a tie? Oh, the tie has been broken. Oh my goodness. Here we are. I thought there was a tie between purpose, culture, and diversity, innovation and data governance, and how it impacts the rest of the dimensions. I think we can end the poll if there is no one else. But what I really wanted us to look at is just the area. Oh wow, purpose, culture, and diversity has really come up. I think we can share the results now, and just say it is critical that we think on around the 1 or 2 governance domains that become a mainstay for your organization based on its nature, scale, complexity, and life cycle. What is the 1 or 2 governance domains which remains at the center of your strategy and can unlock the rest for you? And it's important that in this sound corporate governance system that we do not keep a blind eye. Here we are trying to open up the Johari's window. There are domains that in governance that must receive attention. Strategy and performance, the purpose, culture, and diversity, your customer brand and reputation, your talent and reward, risk compliance and assurance, the financial technology and data oversight, your sustainability and stakeholder governance. However, what is it in your organization that you're going to focus on based on what is going on, and how then do you put in place strategies that are aligned and will deliver for you the results? So mambo ni matatu. Governance domains, choose them. Remember, governance is essentially cyclical in nature. The corporate governance crisis and reform is cyclical. Waves of corporate governance reform and increased regulation, all these corporate governance guidelines, codes of governance, et cetera, occur during periods of recession and corporate failure. We have seen it go down. We have seen what caused it. Let's put in some regulations. Let's throw a code at it for either compliance or application. But history shows that at times of great confidence and prosperity, we must exercise the greatest caution, because the recessions are caused by overconfidence, by not focusing on the core, the key governance domains for you as an organization. They are the ones that lead to the downfall, to the recession, and therefore more governance reform. So as we do that, let us also just keep in mind that it is the third issue is that we do need to keep in mind that that we must put in place a system in all our organizations, whether it is our own organization or in the organization in which we are working, a system to measure whether any corporate governance focus, whether it is in the governance domains or even processes or even practices, actually are providing, a more effective corporate governance system for you. What are the measurable impacts? Evidence, such as improved access to finance or clients or customers, or impact, lower cost of capital, improved reputation. What is it that you want to measure with improvements in your corporate governance? Because what you don't measure does not get done. It's as simple as that. Then you also have to keep self-reflecting, interrogation. Self-interrogation is critical at every level of the organization, at the board, at the management, at employee level. So that self-interrogation, objective feedback, they say feedback is the breakfast of champions, positive criticism, continuous improvement, just allowing that to assist you in improving corporate governance. Situational awareness. Is there a commitment? I think somebody said, Sheila talked about commitment to identify and systematically address governance issues, because when you find that there is some sort of laxity, people don't really want to discuss what is going right and what's wrong. That is when you see the organization is on the way to failure. Ethics is a key component of the governance framework. Who is responsible for the ethics and trust agenda? And are they providing a framework for clear ownership and accountability all through the organization? organizations now, some progressive organizations are even appointing trust officers, chief trust officers, CTO. You know, we thought CTO was technology officer. No, you're finding people appointing trust officers, people who are responsible for building that culture of transparency, disclosure, accountability within the organization and keeping it running and discussed at all levels. And do not underestimate the value of a good story. If you hear some of the corporates that went down, let's talk about Chase Bank. Let's talk about the issues that happened with OpenAI. It was a combination of quantitative data, but also anecdotal evidence makes the case for good governance or not, as the case may be. And you will find that in some instances, the organization is brought down by that anecdotal evidence, social media reports, etc., etc. And I wanted to bring this into the room because I wanted us to be able to make that link between corporate governance and national governance, you know, as in, and this quote by Arthur Levitt, who was a former chairperson of the US Securities and Exchange Commission, really resonated with me in terms of how to make that link. He actually talked about the fact that countries that do not have a reputation for strong corporate governance practice open themselves up for capital. He was, of course, of the view of, because coming from the securities exchange side, he was talking about capital and capital inflows that are required for an economy to thrive. And he was very clear that investors, when they are not confident on the corporate governance in the organizations in that country, where the country itself or even institutions there are opt for lax accounting, lax reporting standards, capital actually flows elsewhere, where there is perceived to be better governance, perceived to be better, management or corporate direction. And all enterprises in that country, regardless of whether your own company is doing very well, will suffer the consequences of this. And I know of countries where there are companies that are great, are being corporations that are managed in an amazing way, are increasingly influential and impactful. And yet, because of what is happening at the national level, they themselves suffer the consequences. I won't mention those countries, but it happens. Markets may now have to honor what sometimes we fail to recognize, that many of them exist by the grace of investors, people who are willing to invest. And if you don't have internal investors, you're also looking for a direct foreign investment or other investment from the diaspora. And it is today's more empowered investors that will determine which companies and which markets will stand the test of time and endure that competition. So it serves us well to remember that no market has a divine right to capital. And it is the same with you, even you, when you're investing seed capital in a new business, etc., you will be looking at the corporate governance support and framework in that particular company. So we'll just take the next couple of minutes to talk about global governance. And here it is a challenge to all of us, I think, which I had thrown earlier and which I will throw to us again. I don't know whether this to you demonstrates what is called ESG. We all know of environmental, social, and governance oversight. And to me, agile global governance is about sustainable, scalable, and versatile stewardship of three things: Earth, the humans, and all their issues and relationships. And I really respect, people who have been able to document, including the United Nations, these are the SDGs, that are there set out by the UN. The UN talked about sustainability, meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Let me be honest here. When I sat down to think about this issue of ESG, God reminded me that He had already given a direct instruction to us here on earth as to how to manage ESG. The model is already there. So yes, we can put it in 100 other words. We can put it together in very different forms. I know Apostle Angie always asking us to look back to our last instruction, to see where it is that we have failed to progress. There is also a place for looking at the first instruction. And our first instruction around ESG, around the earth, humans, and relationships is in Genesis 1. I'll only read 27 to 31. It says, so God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them, male and female, He created them. He already was clear about humans and how it is that they're supposed to carry themselves in His image, all of them, male and female. He blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase the numbers, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over, He gave the environment, fish in the sea, birds in the sky, living creatures, every plant that is there, all the beasts on the earth, I give them to you to steward. They are also for food. And He talked about the relationship between the two. Who is ruling? Who is dealing? Who is all that? And He looked at it and He saw that it was very good. So sometimes, in my view, we are overcomplicating an issue which is very simple, which is about obedience to the instruction that we have been given. And this instruction has not been given to UNEP. This instruction has not been given to, I don't know who is the head of the UN right now. I do not know who is head of Global Compact, to Sandra or Jambo, this instruction has been given to us personally. And it is critical that we take this personal, very individual accountability for the instruction we have been given, how it is that we're stewarding the earth, humans, and all their issues and relationships, and to then resolve how we are going to live that out, both in our own lives, in our family, in our community, in the marketplace, and on the globe. So if you have a solution which is aligned to this instruction, it is time now to bring it forth and to ensure that we are all moving in the direction that we have been asked. Because at the end of the day, who will be held accountable for ESG, sustainability of earth, humans, and relationships today, and the ability of future generations to meet their needs and to be able to steward to earth, humans, and relationships? It is I will not be standing there with somebody else. I'll not call my, sustainability officer from the office that if we stand together, we say how we have, managed paper and waste in the marketplace, how we manage carbon emissions through our travel or lack thereof. I will stand alone. And so we, once again, will provide that footprint calculator. Just go back, look at it again, and just see what is it that it takes to run your life right now. I think I said it the last time. It shocked me to high heaven to actually recognize that the way I'm living my life right now is not in obedience to the instruction that God gave me. And it will take 7 or 8 earths over the next 20 years to sustain my lifestyle and the way I live it. So the footprint, the personal accountability, the solution that deals with any of these three things. This is the moment. I'm just challenging you. It is the moment. We don't have enough time, but this change canvas will be shared with you in the chat, and you can take it away as a takeaway. I found it a very easy way to actually put in a plan around what we are talking about, and a solution or that you have, or even the earlier question of the assignment that you have or the skill that you have, which you're not stewarding right now, and how you want to take it forward. I like the change canvas, and you'll get this in an editable format, because it helps us to map very clearly on the left side what is the reality of the issue right now. What are the values that you are bringing into dealing with these issues? Which of your values are you bringing? How ready are you to actually make a change, to take a step in one direction or another? What is your purpose, and that sits in the center of everything. What are the risks you'll face? Because certainly there'll be risks, there'll be biases, there'll be issues that will arise and challenges. Are you able to think about them and how you are going to deal with them when they arise? And then on the right side, to be able to document your resolve. The factions are really about the tensions. Yes, and how you will play off the tensions that will be required in order for you to deliver. What relationships will you have to bring? Those networks? I said there are actually some blessings, some solutions that are only attached to you using the network that you have. What is the narrative? How are you going to tell the story? Because the issue is this, whatever it is that's been put in your hands is not for you. You can be in the center of that vision, being active, but it is not for you. It is for, there are those who are waiting, as Apostle Angie says, on the other side of your obedience, and they're waiting for you to tell the story. And what are the next actions you're going to take? You can take this at a personal level. You can also do it at a business level. And there's the business model canvas. The link has been provided there. You can use it. It has a little more around customer segments or client segments, the channels, your key resources. But at the end of the day, it is about how do you bring out your solution in a way that you can actually articulate it clearly before somebody else, and influence them, and they buy in to be able to support you to deliver on the solution you have, either for yourself, for your family, for your community, your marketplace assignment, for the nation, the region, the continent, or the globe. And so now I'll just come to the parting shot. And I hope you'll take time to do the change canvas on your one issue, or the issue that is now playing on your mind, or the solution that you have. Somebody did ask a question. Hey, how do you navigate boardroom politics? I don't know. Dilemmas are par for the course. Family or marketplace. At what time, when, how, where do you spend most of your time, your energy? Calling versus career, which is crying louder at this particular time? Should I just speak now, or do I just listen? And if I listen, what is it in service of? Should I step up, put up my hand, participate? Who will do this? Are you going to step up and do it, or step down? Step down sometimes means handing over something which you're passionate and good about, to allow someone to take it to the next level, and to free your time and energy to do the things you're being called to do at this particular time. Should I stay or should I go? Fanny, your question, should I stay or should I go? That one. Okay? So the dilemmas are there. So What is your view of how you're going to take it forward? What is it that you have in your hand that will help you navigate this season? Imagine the answers are in you. And if you don't have the answer, get a mentor, a coach, a sponsor, connector, somebody who will hold your hand as you navigate the dilemmas. The handoffs are critical. Transitions. We've talked about changes that we'll have to make, resolves, reforms, reimagination. But the handoffs are really critical. Are you putting together the right team? And that's what Fanny was going to mention towards the end, to say that you do not take your folder and sashay out, not caring what is behind you. Yes, there is adversity, but how are you going to ensure that you have left a legacy in one place or another? It is how you manage those handoffs. Do you put the right team around it or the right person around it? Do you practice with them drills? They may not know they're being groomed. They may not know succession is happening. They may not understand, but drills are critical. It's like when you're in the relay, the handoff must be smooth and clean, you hear all this time people, all over the place, of people being called back, or now you've been sued for something that happened. I don't know when you were the director of finance, I don't know where. Smooth and clean. No surprises. You don't surprise people with transitions. You actually want to support them to see the vision that you have by actually transitioning and lead from behind. You can't prepare a successor, prepare a team, and then after you hand over, you are nowhere to be seen. You will never pick their calls. You never do anything. You must always look. Even when people transition from my team and go to other organizations, I set a timer. Within 1 month, I will give them a call or send them a text. How is it going? Any support that I can give you, because it's critical to lead as you go. How do you rate your change management skills? Is it that you need to step up? Is it something that you need to learn? Please go ahead. Finally, I know my friend Carol Nyanjui and Peperuka held all the IP to me. Well, there was a time at which, as a country, we were called ungovernable. To me, I decided in my life, I will be governable. God will be able to speak into my life, give me instruction, I shall listen, and in as far as I am able to, I will obey. So this is it. Is it a resolve that you have to be governable? If you have nothing to be confident about, be sure of this one thing. God, who has begun a good work in you, he will complete it. And sometimes we just give him such a hard time, no matter what the situation looks like, whether you cooperate or not, because sometimes we are not very cooperative. No matter what others say or do not say about you, he will complete that good work. Do you want to be part? Do you see yourself in that vision? And do you want to be an active part of it, as Sheila said? What's your next step? How are you going to do it? It is over to you. And so I'll just end at that. And thank you so much for staying the course. I'm really grateful. Shelmy, back to you.
You have to in conventional say, go on to Shelmy.
Thank you very much, Nkirote, for the presentation. We are really learning a lot. We have 2 questions from the chat. At that moment, let me share them with you so that you can be able to answer. The first one is in journey of becoming and navigating the journey of purpose. What are some of the salutations you have experienced? And what are the practical steps that you can share that have helped you? That is the first one. I also have another one. You've talked about predestined matters, global governance, and you said it's a responsibility. So in a nation where we embark and institute good governance and sustainable development, how do we seize the endless cycle of reverting back whenever it does change office, when some leave office and others take over, and how can we individually own the process? Those are the two questions that I have seen. The others are comments on the chat. Maybe you can answer those ones first.
Thank you so much. And I did mention some of the limitations that I have faced over time. So one of them was really just that perfectionism, the inability to accept help, which, you know, to a large extent did demonstrate itself from time to time in imposter syndrome, time to time, just not being fully present, you know, where I needed to be at any one time. So this was something that was part of, and I think it also comes from those, what I was saying are negative personality traits, you know, control, you know, the excessive need for things to be done really well, you know, and, you know, this is just over and above just excellence. It's really just perfection. And I had to reach a point to say, you know, there is only one life, there's only one Nkirote, and I have to be open to be guided or to be led, and to be able to accept the assignments and do them the best that I can. And so one of the things that I had to learn was how to let go of that perfectionism. It wasn't easy. That one I can't even lie, but I took some steps, you know. One, learning how to delegate better. Two, how to articulate what my desires are in good time so that I can accept help. Learning how to unplug, you know, as in there are times when if I'm exhausted, and just unplug, do something else, take some time out for reflection, for prayer, retreat, you know, and just build disciplines around unplugging, including play. You know, I'm one person who, from when I was a child, it was just difficult. I don't know why to engage in so much play, but now I look for things that really bring me deep joy and relaxation, and I'm able to unplug, like dancing. You know, I could do that anytime. I learned Latin dance, and it frees my mind. I sing in a choir. I am one for, you know, I'm a worshiper, like in corporate, not solo, you know, like that. So I participate in a choir, and then just realizing that I won't be able to change overnight. So just starting small, you know, you start with small steps, small, you know, what are they called? Small disciplines around how to let go of perfectionism and how to unplug, and then just tapping into my support system. I think that was really huge. You know, as I said, it was such a hard lesson to learn that actually refusing help is a form of pride. You know, you're not allowing somebody else to do something which they strongly feel, maybe it's even an instruction to do for you. And then always remembering to ask God, is it the right thing? Is it the right thing for me to do this? So that's how I've navigated those some of those challenges, whether it's health challenges, work challenges, failures. Did I tell you I went for political office at some point? Not political, really, my professional association. I did not make it. And I was just like, you see, imposter syndrome now really checks in. You know, I was going for the chair of a professional body and I campaigned hard, and then it didn't work out. I didn't win. And I had to step back and say, what was it in service of? And I'm still learning just to understand that not everything will work out. And sometimes you're being protected from what's ahead, but sometimes it's just it for you to learn a lesson of some sort. Yeah. So that was the first question. The second one was about, you know, what is our role? You know, when there is all this, you know, back and forth, change in leadership, which is what we presume way above our pay grade. You know, as in sometimes we are like, that one is above my pay grade. Now, when the CEO leaves, when I don't know, is it the chair of the board leaves, and yet he was so passionate about this, but now the direction has changed and so on and so forth. I think there is something about being so sure about your current assignment and doing it well and trusting that the one who called you to do it will bring it together at some point, not in my time, but in his time. And I'll give you a very good example. When I was first entered the public service, I was at the Retirement Benefits Authority. I was a regulator. And during that time, we drafted some very progressive, actually, that's where I first learned legislative drafting, some very progressive, what are they called? Frameworks and laws. Two of them, I'll give an example. One, in working with the financial sector regulators, all of us, we were like, the missing piece for us is how foreign investment is dealt with in our country. And so we wrote a policy paper on setting up an international financial center, like what you find in Mauritius, Cayman Islands, I don't know what. Us guys, we were young, progressive, we were like, this thing. Okay. So we put it together expecting that this international financial center, we had drafted a policy for an international financial center in Nairobi and one in Mombasa, an Islamic financial center. And just to attract foreign investment and capital in a better way. Right. Somebody looked at it and said, very nice for 2050. You know, as in, I'm serious. They just put it on a shelf somewhere. They read it. They're like, mumefanya kazi muzuri, sana, sana, sana. It went onto a shelf. And I remember just not being able to let go, that somebody could not apprehend that this was a now issue. Do you see, now how Nigerians say. But I think I just took peace and rest. In fact, I was the secretary of that committee that drafted, and the chair, he's the one who told me, Nkirote, please do not worry about it. Do your part. Do your part. So we did it. We presented it at the National Treasury. I don't know what left it. 3 years ago. Here, 3 years ago. Well, now I have moved on. Yani, I even forgot that thing was ever drafted. Suddenly you see a gazette notice, the Nairobi International Financial Center is being set up. I was like, say what? Went and looked at the law and the regulations. It is exactly what we had drafted 20 years ago, or, I don't know, 18 years ago. And it has come to fruition. I could give you examples like that, many of them. So my encouragement to that person who is asking, do your part, do it well, do it with excellence, and be settled in knowing the one who has called you to do it will bring it together.
Well, thank you for sharing so authentically. One more from the Christine Lagarde story and what even Fanny had asked. Somebody is asking, there was the issue of letting go and ensuring you have boundaries. How do you balance the decision to leave versus the weight of hoping that things will get better, that God will fight for you in the workplace?
On that one, as I said again, I think there is a very personal, every time I have had, maybe let me just give my own example. Every time I've had to leave either an assignment or a place of work or a place in which I was doing something, whatever that may be, it hasn't come without how can I put it? You know, a real dry and deep desire for confirmation, not from people around me, that this thing is done. It's done, you know, and that I must look at it not from the physical, but look at it from the place of the soul and the spiritual, you know, instructional assignment that I have. I'll give you an example. When my boss asked me to step out of my legal and governance role and support him in the people and culture role, the human capital role, where you should have seen the blood, the tears, the sweat, you know, of Yanni, but this is my purpose, this is what I love, but it was very, very clear. God reminded me that I had said in my interview coming into this role that I am taking project mindset to this role. And the project that I see ahead of me was X, Y, and Z. You know, there was a transaction, there were things to be, and I had articulated them. And I was taken back to look at that list and, is this done? Yes. Is this done? Yes. Is this done? Yes. Is this done? So what are you holding on to? You know, and it is, so what I'm saying is that decision is not easy, but it takes you to actually go back. And that's why I think everyone, my friend Pauline was the first to teach me about journaling, important events, you know, important things that you have said and declared. I think Apostle Angie also talks about it a lot. And I have learned over time, I had to go back to that place where my interview notes, where I listed those things and I had to tick them off and say, let it go. And that is something about letting go. It's not easy, but it doesn't feel natural, you know, but there is a science to it, aside from the art and the perception and the discernment that goes with it. So just to encourage you that just because it doesn't feel natural doesn't mean it's not the right thing. That's all I can say, to actually let go and move on. Yeah. And I could see Apostle Angie, maybe she wants to.
Thank you, Nkirote, for that. I'll just summarize a bit some of the things that we've learned in this session. We've talked about the 3 governance dimensions. We started with self-governance. And I loved the first statement you started with, a saying that you said that no one can command another who cannot command themselves. And this is the ability to hold up the mirror and to see yourself. And in self-governance, we talked about the 4 components. This is your purpose, your why, your mandate, your personal values. And I love the fact that, you know, for you to implement even organizational values, they have to be aligned to your personal values, and then your traits, your qualities, and your skills. I loved the exercise of, you know, a skill that you have forgotten. And for me, one of the things I remembered is that in the past, I used to do long distance running, interestingly. I don't know, but those are things we can go back to. But I think that's why I love physical activities, going out and doing physical activities. Then we've talked about the mindset, and we need to build and work on our mindset. And one of the questions is, you know, what kind of seed are you? Are you the 100-fold seed, according to Matthew 23, verse 13? So all of us, we need to develop an abundance mindset. We need to be lifelong learners. Matters collaboration, because some blessings are only attained through networks. I really love that. Then participation and resilience. I also love the story of Christine Lagarde, of breaking barriers, considering the fact, you know, she was a woman, she was a lawyer, not an economist, she was an Olympian swimmer, she was a politician, but yet with all that, she was able to become the president of IMF because she was positioned correctly. And there are those building blocks that you've talked about, your education and career, the experience, the skills, and the profile. So for all of us, we just need to go and do a detailed plan of what we are going to do going forward with all these things that we have learned today. We've also talked a bit about corporate governance, and in corporate governance, we've learned that for us to achieve consensus, we need to know who are our primary stakeholders or the principal participants, and we've been given the governance. There's also the issue of global governance, and we've been told all these issues that people are talking about, the ESG, they were actually, it's God's instructions in the Bible as given in Genesis chapter 1, and we need to ask ourselves, how are we stewarding the earth? How are we stewarding humans? And how are we stewarding relationships? Summary of things that we talked about. And remember, knowledge is power, but it's just potential power. So all of us, we need to ask ourselves, what are we going to do forward? So it's very important for you just to write that one or two things you're picking up today that you're going to do going forward, because that is what is going to give you impact in your life. Or that take out and what you're going to implement, that is what will have impact in your life. So I love what people are writing on the chat on how the session was. Some of them are saying it was insightful, it was eye-opening, it was educative, it was engaging, it was informative. There's a mindset shift. And as we've said, just go and implement that one thing or two things that you have learned today. And the recording, we have the recording. It will be shared to your emails for those ones who we have their for those ones who are in our database. If you're not in our database, kindly write your emails on the chat, and then you're going to get it, and you're going to share the recording with you. Because I know just listening today is not enough. You need to go and listen to it again so that you can start implementing the key takeouts. So we appreciated your attendance and your engagement. So for Nkirote, thank you very much for being so open and sharing so authentically. God bless you abundantly. So I'd like to give some mention to some of the Kingdom Business Solution points of engagement. Some of the points of engagement. The next thing that is coming up is the UNSTUCK conference. And the UNSTUCK conference will be on 10th August 2024. We have an amazing lineup of panelists and speakers. Kindly diarize this so that you don't miss out. 10th August. Then we have the final masterclass for this year that is coming up on 12th October. Kindly also diarize that so that you don't miss out. That will be facilitated by our very own Apostle George Thara. We are also requesting for your support towards the UNSTUCK conference. We have a deficit of 500,000. And remember, no amount is too small. So be a part of facilitating this great breakthrough that the conference ushers in. That is the poster there. You can partner with us. We have our pay bill number is 948-200, and the account is UNSTUCK. For the singles, we have an event just for you. This event is called the Link Up. This is the first ever Mavuno Marketplace Singles Hangout. It will be held on 15th June 2024 at Ballbox General Madenge, starting from 1 to 5 p.m. Come, let's engage in different games, meaningful conversations, and have fun. The Link Up. Then we have the Purpose and Leadership Forum, which is one of our flagship projects at Kingdom Business Solutions. It is a program that is a 12 training program that ships as leaders in the market. Look out for the details for season 33 that is coming up soon. But we have PLF Global. It will be starting on 8th June 2024. That will be an online, those will be online classes. We also have the Real You book and the Raw by our founder, Apostle Angie Morenga. These two books are available in both print and ebooks For the hard copies, you can find them at Ufungamano, Nuria Bookstore, and also Bookstop at Yaya Center. For the ebooks, these ones are available on Amazon, Kindle, and other e-platforms. We also have Mavuno Marketplace Sunday services at Victoria by 2 Rivers. We usually start our services at 10 a.m. and we end at 1 p.m. And we are looking forward to hosting you, and all are welcome. We also have Just Angie, which is the digital platform. Please engage with us on Just Angie. There's a very rich content on different topics. So to get more information on this and more about the ministry, kindly contact Kingdom Business Solutions on the contacts that are being shared. We have the contacts there. So thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Apostle Angie to give some closing remarks and to pray. Thank you.
I really don't have closing remarks. Nkirote, that was so good. You really are a phenomenal leader. You really are a general, and you really are a giant in the marketplace and in the kingdom. And I love the way that you are able to merge and to have that conversation. You've got me thinking. I need to spend some time reflecting. And I love being a lifelong learner. And I just love the passion that you bring. Pauline is a really good friend of yours. She's been an amazing, amazing friend. So thank you so much for that. I think my role is to pray. So let me pray. Heavenly Father, I just want to bless you. There are many ways that we are stuck and we need to get unstuck. I pray that this will not be just a conversation where we said how great it was, but there's going to be action that comes out of this conversation, Lord. There's going to be movement that comes out of this conversation, that we're going to sit and take time to reflect, to think, to do the exercises that have been so clearly displayed throughout this masterclass, Lord. We're going to take time to listen to the things that you dropped in our spirit, the promptings that you have given us, Lord, in the name of Jesus Christ, that there's going to be, I hear the word follow through in the name of Jesus Christ. Since this is like, I feel like Isaiah 62, where blocks are being removed from the highways. Like there's a highway, the journey, there's a path, there's a way that God has ordained for you, but maybe it's full of blockages, just like, because just life happens. But I just keep reflecting, this thing of life is short. So we've got to get the boulders out of the way. We've got to do the work. And so, Lord, I pray there will be a conviction to each and one of us to do the work, to sit down, start moving things out of the way, implementing new things, letting go of old things, letting go of old habits and attitudes, doing things differently. Doing things differently is a big one as well, just so that we can begin to move our life in the direction that God has ordained and begin to move our lives in the direction of the anointing of God. I pray that we make time to sit down with this message, with this recording, listen to it again, listen to what is not being said to everyone, but is being said to you. Listen to the individual messages and instructions that you're giving us that are going to help us move. And so my release is for movement, Lord, that we begin to move in the direction. We begin to move in the right direction. I also decree the words of Isaiah 45, that you begin to level every kind of mountain and obstacle that stands before us. You raise the valleys, you make the crooked places straight, you break down generational gates of bronze and pillars of iron to give each and every individual, Father, hidden treasures, riches that have been stored for us, they've been saved for us, but now we need access to them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen and amen. And please bless Nkirote greatly. Open up great and mighty doors for her. Open up platforms for her. Open up opportunities. Lord, launch her into every place that you want. And I'm also hearing, launch her into the deep, according to Luke 5, verse 1 to, I think, verse 1-9. Let there be such greatness. I mean, this, you have loved her. You have prepared her as a woman, as a leader, as a wife, as a mother, as a captain of industry, Lord. But there's always more. There is always more. Take it to the next level. From one level of glory to another. Shift her into every opportunity that you have ordained for her. Order her steps and let there be great movement in and around her life. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you
So much. Oh, that was so good.
Thank you, team. Thank you all.
I need an emoji for Alililili. Those AI people need one. I need my own emoji. Emoji for Alililili. Oh, God bless. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you.